TitleMatchNetwork.com.
Today we're joined by a true legend in the sport of professional wrestling, a guy who definitely comes from a wrestling family, to say the least. It is a privilege and honor to have with us Sam Houston today. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
We've been trying to do this interview for maybe 12 years. I remember when we were down in New Orleans for ECW, you came to one of the shows and visited, but we just didn't get a chance to do it at that point. So here we are in 2009.
You have to wait for everything. You know, anything good you need to wait for.
Let's talk about your background in the wrestling, family. You grew up in a wrestling family. Let's talk about that a little bit. What was it like growing up in a wrestling family?
Well, it wasn't like growing up in any other type of family, that's for sure. I was on the road all the time with my dad. So it was a different night a different town every night, and I don't know, for me, it was great,
How early on were you exposed to the business? At what age were you exposed to the business?
What, as far as traveling?
I guess it's traveling.
How about 2 weeks old? 2 weeks old.
Wow.
My early childhood memories were of my dad and Luke Brown against the Assassins or the Bolos or whatever they called themselves. They called themselves the Assassins in some areas, the Bolos in the other areas. I always had to try to keep my name straight because my dad my dad's name straight. He wrestled as Jake Smith, as Grizzly Smith, Sky High Jones, Tiny Anderson, Tiny Smith. So I was always having to, who's your dad? Oh, what name is he today?
How close were you with your father growing up? Were you pretty close?
Very close, yeah. Very close. When my mom and my dad divorced, I was, 12 years old, 12, 13 years old, something like that. And, I went to live with my dad, and we were on the road constantly.
Right. How big was your father on kayfabe back then with you? Did he expose the business, or did he not?
No, that was all an accident, but yeah. I have nothing but the utmost respect for this business, so, I would see guys come to the house and I was like, oh, well, shoot, Dad just wrestled him last week, and I would see things like that, but that was business. And later on, I learned that you have to have that professionalism outside the ring as well as inside the ring.
Right. Okay. Do you have any early road stories that you can share from, before you got into the business?
Well, yeah. Danny Hodge hated to lose at anything. This man was a competitor from the word go. And we used to play this game at the matches. We'd take a quarter and one guy on each end of the table, and you flip the quarter and spin it, and then you got to go down the table and catch it between your thumbs. And the other guy holds up a basket. It's like some sort of basketball thing. And, you get points. Boy, Danny hated to lose. And I was pretty good at the game. And but I used to have to catch Danny cheating. He'd be behind the quarter, blowing on the quarter or something like that. But practical jokes in this business go hand in hand. I don't remember what Terry Funk did to Harley Race, but Harley Race out in the Amarillo territory caught a rattlesnake, sewed its mouth shut, and put it underneath Terry Funk's driver's seat. And Terry was driving home from the town that night, and that snake was just hitting the back of his leg. And Terry turned the light on, from what I understand, and saw that snake and really freaked out and drove his car in a lake. So Wahoo McDaniels, those guys in the Carolinas and stuff, and Harley Race was involved in that too. They would have these brand new Cadillacs, and they trying to knock each other's door handles off playing chicken. So,
I heard stories about that before.
Yeah. We're mischievous types of people, I guess.
Wow. What do you remember, about going into the locker room as a kid? Did all the veterans, take you under their wings?
Well, yeah. Okay, when I was a kid growing up, my friends weren't Joe down the street or Alan, 5 houses down or something like that. My friends were the boys in the business. My friends were the guys in the locker room. And sure, hey kid, come here.
Stretch it.
Yeah, and and it was all I could do not to scream because I didn't want to show that that weakness or that or that pain. I did my best to take it, but in them showing me things like that, it was also schooling me.
Right.
And being able to become a wrestler. I mean, I know holds and moves that I guess people. I mean, if you grab somebody in one of my things that I know from those Mario Galento and Danny Hodge, these guys showing me moves and holds to stretch people. George Weingroff, he worked out with me twice before I went and broke in the business. And he showed me things. But those were my friends. Those were my buddies growing up,
Did you, early on as a kid, know that you wanted to get into the business as a worker?
Yeah, always.
Okay.
My grandmother tells a story of, one day she came in, and I didn't know how to write cursive at the time. I could do I could write my name in block letters, and then I was taking the pencil and drawing a little loop from the one letter to the next all the way through my name. She goes, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm practicing my autograph for when I get famous."
That's awesome.
So I've always known I was going to wrestle.
At what age did you start training?
Well, I've trained, I've studied for this business all my life. When I started training to get in the business, it was after my neck surgery. I had my tonsils taken out, and when they took my tonsils, that's what these scars on my throat are from. They took my tonsils out, and I redlined on the table. There was a mistake was made in the operating room. And I was laying on the table dead for 2 minutes, and they got me back going, and then I was in a coma for 2 weeks, having out of body experiences, all kind of things going on, and then I was in the hospital. I was in the hospital from the beginning of April till the middle of August that year. I went down from 230 pounds to 125. And as soon as I got out of the hospital, I started eating and training. And then I left home, and Dusty gave me my start in Florida.
Was your father helpful to you?
My dad didn't want me to get in the business in. And the reason why is because he felt that he lost me once before. He lost me after the tonsillectomy. And, but it was something that I was born to do. I was just born. I was born for this business.
What are your memories of your brother Jake as a kid, and even your sister who was Robin?
Yeah. Well, let's see. We lived in Gainesville, Texas, in 1969, and Jake and one of his school buddies, Ricky Zachary, they were out in the backyard playing with the football one day. And Dad was inside taking a nap, and I come out the back door, and they said, "Hey, you want to play football?" I said, "Sure." They tossed me the ball, and they jump over the fence. So I'm in the backyard throwing the football up in the air and catching it. 7-year-old boy, man. I'm just all pro at 7. So now I'm throwing the football up in the air and catching it. Keep doing it, and then finally the back door opens, and there's my dad standing there in his underwear, his t-shirt and his underwear, and he goes, "Son, you broke my window, the bedroom window." And I said, "No, I didn't." And he says, "Son, you broke the window." I said, "No, Dad, I didn't." He said, "Son, I'm not giving you this spanking for breaking the window. I'm giving you this spanking for lying to me."
Wow.
Man, I got my butt tore up too. But it was all good. We weren't around. Jake and my other sister Jolynn and Richard. Richard lived with my Aunt Maureen. Jake and Jolynn, when we left Texas in '69, they opted to stay in Texas, from what I understand, and and then when we would see them, we were close. But you do drift apart.
Right. Did you see the movie Beyond the Mat?
Yes, I did.
What did you think as far as Jake's comments about your dad? I mean, did that affect the family a lot?
You got to look at it, I guess, in this aspect, because to be honest with you, I battle with addiction also. So you got unless you have an addiction, you're not gonna understand what that addiction will do to you. You'll lie, you'll cheat, you'll do things that you'll do whatever it takes to make a buck.
Right.
And it seems to me that that movie, the people doing that movie, did their best. They did nice things for Terry Funk, Mick Foley, things like that. They made them look good, but then I guess they needed somebody to hang the I don't know, the sign on that says, okay, well, this is the downside of it.
Right. Mm. What are your memories of your first match?
The whole thing. I wrestled Charlie Cook in Tampa, Florida, September 13th, 1983. I forgot. Okay, I must have peed 20 times while the national anthem was going. Oh, I was so nervous. I get out in the ring, and I forgot every wrestling move I ever learned or ever knew. I was just, and I knew Charlie Cook from the Louisiana territory, from Mid-South. And but I have nothing but the greatest respect in the world. The match went 7 minutes long. I got an arm, and I don't even know how I got an arm bar. I got him on the mat like this, and I don't know. It was all a blur. The second match was against Joe LeDuc on Tampa TV the next morning, and I got toe up from the flow up in about 2 minutes. I think I hit him with an arm drag, and then and he backed me into the ropes and just lit me up like a Christmas tree. And then the third match I had was against Angelo Mosca Jr., and that went 10 minutes through. Here's two guys. Now, he had been wrestling for 3 months, and I'd only been wrestling. This is my third match. But then after that, I guess the legend of Sam Houston was born.
Well, Dusty, you said, was booking at the time, right? How did he find you? Through your dad, or?
Yeah, me getting in the business was a favor. My dad in 1969 gave Dusty Dusty was on his way home to Austin, Texas to quit the business and start plumbing, and my dad gave him his big break in Dallas, Texas. And Dusty's an awesome individual, and he does pay his debts, and he gave me my big break, just to get in the business.
Was Eddie Graham down there at the time as well?
Yes, he was.
What are your memories of Eddie? Eddie
was one hell of a businessman.
A lot of people say he's probably one of the best Finnish guys in the business.
Yes, he was.
Right.
And I remember days like in the 70s when my dad and I were there. Eddie could tell when the riot was going to happen, where it was coming from. I mean, Eddie, he was phenomenal that way.
So you traveled with your dad at points of early on in your career, right?
Excuse me?
You traveled with your father in Florida a little bit?
Yeah, not in my career.
Right, when he was
wrestling.
Right.
That's where I learned how to do my Dusty Rhodes impersonation.
You want to do it real quick?
Well, he fired me for doing it one time, but it was just a joke. But it was like, "Listen, my babies, and you will hear the tales and exploits of Dusty Rhodes and American dreams. You see, baby, I fly across the sky on the edge of a lightning bolt. I shit lightning and fought thunder, Jack." Yeah.
Who are some of your mentors? Who do you consider some of your mentors?
My mentors, like
took you under their wing and really, helped your career.
Well, Dusty, Magnum, he was there helping me. Manny Fernandez, all the guys I worked against. Nelson Royal was a huge influence on my career. Bill Watts. The only thing I wanted I wanted Bill Watts to be proud of me, because I respected the man that much. He ran a tight company in Louisiana, and his company was very successful. You look at the guys that he turned out of there. Yeah, he had to hold a tight rein on the guy. We're nuts. We're all, Dusty told me one time, he goes, kid, if I could just harness your power, put blinders on you and hold the reins, and, he said, you'd be a millionaire. Because I guess I'm out there. Barry Windham helped me a lot when I was breaking in. The list goes on and on.
I'm going to go down a list of guys that you worked with in Florida, and you could just tell me your thoughts and your memories of them. Mike Graham.
Mike Graham, he's a great guy. I never worked against him or anything like that, but I used to kid him about his height, and and I was wrong in doing that. So Mike, I'm sorry, but he was a phenomenal wrestler.
Kevin Sullivan, memories of Kevin back in Florida?
Kevin and I we never really,
different cliques?
Yeah, I think so. Nothing bad to say, but, I wasn't traveling in his circle.
Gotcha.
And he wasn't in mine.
Blackjack Mulligan?
Mulligan, I respect the hell out of that man.
And his son, Barry?
Barry was great. Barry was really great.
Memories of one of the best announcers pretty much of all time, Gordon Soley?
I love Gordon Soley to death. He did my first interview after I broke in, and talking about my age, and all I could do is yes sir. He really carried it. That man could do anything. Like he was, he's Chris Christopherson sings about the silver tongued devil. Well, Gordon Soley is the silver tongued devil.
You also got to work with Hector Guerrero.
Hector is awesome. Hector Guerrero is one of the most awesome human beings I know. Hector Guerrero in Florida, Mike Davis and Mike Rotundo, and they were playing. We were playing ribs on each other.
Right.
And Hector come up to me one night. And he goes, Sam. He goes, don't ever be second. He goes, you're a second generation wrestler. He goes, therefore, a lot of these guys are out for you because they think you're going to get breaks. He said, you've got to work twice as hard as everybody else to get the same recognition. He goes, don't ever be second best. Don't ever be second best in the ring, and don't ever be second best in the dressing room ribbon. And I've lived by those words all my life. But I then again, I took it to the bar too. I was never second best in the bar. I could always outdrink anybody,
Right.
So I went a little bit too far on that, Hector, but I took your advice. And
what about Mike Rotundo? What are your memories of working with Mike?
Mike was great. We traveled on the road together and everything. He still is. He's still alive. Thank God. What was hard for me with Mike was I never really understood his style, but he came from an amateur background in Syracuse, New York, and the whole 9 yards. And I didn't at the time. I didn't understand about the story being told in the match, and maybe that's where. But Mike, hell, I respect the hell out of him. He's a great athlete.
How about J.J. Dillon? Memories of J.J.
Oh God, yeah, J.J.'s awesome. Oh God. I was in the ring in Miami wrestling J.J. Dillon. Oh God, this is good. This is good. All right. We're circling the ring and circling each other and getting ready to lock up. And somebody threw a keychain in the ring, and let's see, it was an X-rated keychain type thing.
Right.
So we're both standing there looking at it like, well, I don't know what to do. JJ reaches down and picks it up, and it had a button on it. And he lit that button, and that thing lit up. And when he did, look, I had to go to the corner. I'm trying to chew the turnbuckle, but I was dying inside. It was just great. JJ's awesome. He's a wonderful man. I got to see him in Charlotte at the Fan Fest, and I can't say enough good things about JJ. He worked against me. I learned a lot. I learned a lot from every guy I worked with.
How hot was the territory back then?
Florida?
Yeah, Florida.
It was pretty smoking. It was pretty smoking.
What about travel? What was the travel like?
Travel there was easy. You gotta remember, I was used to Louisiana. I was used to Mid-South. In Mid-South, it was nothing. You're driving Oklahoma City to New Orleans from Sunday night to Monday, back up to you're in Baton Rouge Tuesday, so that wasn't a bad trip. Wednesday morning, you're back up to Shreveport for TV. Then Wednesday night to Jackson, Jackson Wednesday night. You were all over that state. But Florida was really easy. I mean, you do Miami, and sometimes you'd be in Miami one night, Fort Lauderdale the next, or something.
Right.
It's a day at the beach.
I was going to ask you, what was the party scene like back then in Florida?
Oh, it was awesome. It really was.
Who did you travel with?
I traveled with Mike Davis a bit. I traveled, alone some. I traveled with, let's see, Mike Davis. There was a guy that used to sell the souvenirs. A lot of times I'd ride with him,
right?
Because I like getting to the. It'd been bred into me to always be at the show early, so he would get to the show early. So a lot of times I'd travel with him. Plus, I didn't have to pay transportation to him,
right?
So, but yeah, Hector, just different guys. It was a close knit crew.
You also got to work with the Zambui Express a little bit down there.
Yeah, I did. Matter of fact, Ray Candy come up in a conversation the other day. Yeah, I worked with them quite a bit. They were fun, because I knew these guys from Mid-South,
right?
And they're still looking at me like that kid that used to, haul the ring around or set the ring up or keep time for the matches or, go get Cokes, whatever,
Gotcha. Also, what are your memories of the first time you met Ric Flair?
Wow. I don't know. I was like, man, I'm standing in the same dressing room as a world champion. And then I was envious, as well as anybody in this business would be, but the respect, I mean, he just, he commanded respect, and you did. And the first night, I remember in Charlotte, North Carolina, one night after the show, he come in the dressing room and he goes, you're all invited to my house for a Christmas party. And he said, come on, Sam. And he invited me to the Christmas party. And I was like, wow, what a guy. And then, I went through a period of time that, I didn't have the respect that I should have had for him. But I see the things that man has gone through, and it just made me respect him more. And today I can honestly say I respect the hell out of that man. I mean, he's taken this business to heights that it never would have been. And he's actually an awesome human being. And you know, I look at I saw some things on YouTube a couple of weeks ago. Okay, but first let me explain. Computers, all that kind of stuff. Here's what I know how to do with my cell phone. Hello. Okay, when it comes to text messaging, all that stuff, I need a hammer. If it's harder than a gumball machine, I need a hammer.
Right.
You know, as far as a computer and stuff like that, I don't know how to do all that yet. I want to learn, but I broke our computer. I watched a YouTube match of myself and Flair a couple of weeks ago, and just the way he worked with me, you know, I was 10 feet tall when I walked out of that ring. You know,
right?
It was awesome.
What was your take on when Dusty jumped to Crockett and he took like some key guys from Florida territory with him?
What do you mean when
he left Eddie Graham's down in Florida and he started working for the Crockett's?
Well, I knew that. Yeah,
right.
He was coming up for the. He'd been coming up there. I was in Carolinas.
Right. Did he take you up with him, or you one of the guys?
No, I went beforehand.
Okay, you went before.
Yeah, I went beforehand. Around Christmas time, he was shutting the territory down. He sent me up there to go to work for Crockett, and then Dusty was coming up and making shots. And whenever he'd come in to make shots, I'd pick him up at the airport, and we'd ride around, and he'd ask me about how the territory was doing, and I would tell him, you know. And at the time, you had what? And nothing against any of these guys. You had Ernie Ladd booking South Carolina, Wahoo booking Virginia, Dory was booking, Johnny Weaver was booking Canada. Gene Anderson was booking the underneath talent. You had so many people in there trying to fight for whatever they could get. And what it needed to be is it needed to be one booker. You know, the booking committees to me have never really worked because you've got too many people with conflicting ideas.
Right.
So you never follow anything. But Dusty had the creativity. You know, and he was flying up, and I'd pick him up, and yeah, we'd make the towns together and everything. And he was just, he knew Crockett was going to offer him that contract, and he was just waiting on it. That's a funny story. I got to tell you this one. I got to smoke a cigarette.
Go for it. Mind? No, go for it.
Kids, don't try this at home. Anyway, wait, I just dropped my cigarette. Okay, here we go. All right, I hope you can appreciate this story. It's a true story. All right, Dusty called me. He was doing TV interviews. Okay, I was living about 45 miles south of Charlotte at my grandparents' place. And Dusty had been flying in, and I was giving him the scoops on how the territory was and everything. So anyway. Dusty, he says, well, he goes, Femi, baby, pick me up at the office about 4 o'clock. So I show up at the office, to pick him up, to take him to Raleigh. We had to work Raleigh that night. And I get there, and he comes out of the office, and he goes, Femi, he goes, he was pissed. He goes, Jimmy Crockett didn't offer me that contract today. He goes, but he got him a new office car. He got a $58,000 red Mercedes Benz. He said, we're taking the office car tonight. So I was like, okay, cool. So I'm driving this red Mercedes. Me and Dusty, we get to Raleigh, After I work, I was, first or second match. I get my shower, get dressed and everything. Dusty sends me to the beer store. I go get our beer for the way back. And round a little between High Point and Greensboro, I believe it was, I had to stop and piss. Yeah, we're singing songs, Willie Nelson, Waylon Jennings, the whole night, so I stopped to get out and pee. Well, Dusty gets out too, and he goes, Femi, because he was still ticked about not getting that contract, and he goes, fuck this. He goes, this is Jimmy Crockett's new car. He didn't offer me my car. He goes, piss on his car. So we peed all over that Mercedes Benz. I mean, all over. We're laughing and we're drunk and we're, driving to Charlotte. We stop a couple more times and pee on the car again, just, this is great. I get a phone call at 8 o'clock the next morning. And it's, Sammy, you got to get up to the office and meet me. And I said, and he goes, Sammy, get to the office as fast as you can. So I jump in my Buick and I drive 45 miles into Charlotte, get to the office. When I get out of my car, I'm getting ready to walk in the office door. Dusty comes out the door and tosses me the keys to the Mercedes. He goes, baby, you need to take that thing to Taco Bell and get the works done to it. And the name of the place is Auto Bell. Right. It's a car wash there in the Carolinas. He goes, you get the works, have it all scrubbed up and the whole 9 yards. So I said, but Dusty, you thought it was great peeing on the car last night. He goes, yeah, but Sammy, go get it cleaned up. So I go get the car cleaned up and I get back and I walk in the office and, Dusty's sitting behind this desk. And I'm thinking, okay. So I go to hand him the keys and I said, Dusty, what the hell? I said, last night. He goes, Sammy, Jimmy Crockett gave me that contract this morning, and that red Mercedes Benz is one of my perks. That's my office car. So we peed all over Dusty's car.
That's awesome.
It was fun.
Did you expect to get a big push?
Did I expect it? No.
For Crockett?
No. No, it just kind of happened.
Let me just pause this for one
second.
All right, we're talking about Dusty and working for the Crockett's. So I asked if, when Dusty came in the book, I asked if you figured you'd get a big push, and you said you didn't think so, right?
No, I didn't. What, are we on?
Yeah.
Oh, no. That was kind of a mistake. It just happened, I guess. The Fayetteville, North Carolina one night, I got opened up, and to close me back up took 27 stitches. And I was in the hospital. Well, Dusty called me into the office the next morning, and he goes, something happened last night. Now I had been in, riot situations and things like that before. And, I know what heat is and this, that, and the other. Well, he called me in. He goes, Sam, what happened there last night? Everything got so quiet, you could hear a pin drop. And Arn and Ole got down to the ring to get Tully and Nicola back to the dressing room. It was that hot. It was white hot.
Right.
The gate was like $6,300 box office that night. Well, Dusty took me at the office the next day. He goes, I'm going to pull you on TV and do an interview with you. And he did. And when he did, we were in Spartanburg, South Carolina. And all of a sudden I was a superstar. The following week in Fayetteville, the house went from 63, and I remember there was a Sugar Ray against, I think, Roberto Duran on closed circuit TV in the building next door. And I was riding in the matches with Dusty, and he said, he tells me, he goes, Sam, he goes, you got a shot of the main event. You're going to, he said, he goes, if this doesn't draw, he goes, there went your shot.
Wow.
And when we got to the building that night, there were the attendance had more than tripled. Wow. It was over 18,000. Even with that closed circuit next door, we did over $18,000 that night. And then, right then and there, I was the perfect vehicle for heat for Dusty and Magnum. You can't kill, you can't do things to Magnum or Dusty but you beat the hell out of me.
You had some great matches with Tully Blanchard. What do you remember working with Tully?
Tully is awesome. I mean, Tully, everybody I worked with. I mean, here I am, a young kid.
How old were you back then?
Oh, shit, 19, 20, something like that. Here I am, a young kid, and I'm working with the top guys in our profession. I'm working with the best guys. I was working with Tully Blanchard, Arn Anderson. When I'd get in the ring with Arn Anderson, there was such an intensity there, with me. Because I knew Arn from Louisiana before he was Arn Anderson. And I love those guys. Tully was great. Tully could run faster backwards he could run faster backwards than most guys can run frontwards. His psychology was awesome. Arn's was great. But everybody that I was working with the cream of the crop.
Koloff's?
Ivan Koloff, yeah. I learned so much. Me and Mike Davis, there was a snowstorm in Lynchburg, Virginia. And a lot of the guys didn't make it. So I ended up working 3 times. Mike Davis ended up working like 2 or 3 times. Everybody had to like double up. So for the main event, it was myself and Mike Davis against Ivan and Don Kernoodle. And Don Kernoodle dropped down on the apron, off the apron on the one side of the ring and come around over here. And when he come around up towards me, I dropped down. And I was just staring. It was a stare down. And the people were going nuts. It's that anticipation. You remember the old Heinz ketchup? Anticipate. That's what it was. And the people were anticipating. They were anticipating something that never happened, and they were at fever pitch.
The crowd heat. I remember watching you on TV back in the day. The crowd heat was just amazing.
Yeah. Spartanburg. Man, you would think that. That little building. I mean, the people hollering my name and stuff like that. It was just awesome.
When you worked with Ric Flair in the ring, did he sell for you a lot?
Yes, he did.
He was really giving. It was
yes, he did. He made me.
Definitely. What are your memories of working with Black Bart?
Black Bart, I love Black Bart. There's one Bart. There's only one Bart. Bart and me had some matches that, that you can't follow. We had a Texas death match in Baltimore one night, and we were the semifinal that night. And the state athletic commission got involved in it. The match was brutal,
right?
And they got involved. They got tossed around too. I mean, we didn't play no favorites. Our matches in Philadelphia, in Baltimore were brutal. That's all I can say about that. Well, the next week, the next week or 2 weeks later, everybody's on the show in Baltimore, and me and Bart are in the second match, and I said, Dusty, how do I follow what I did last time here? And he said, the best way you can. I went second match and everything. I went over and, told Bart, I said, follow it the best way we can. We had that match, and after that match, the people were just so drained. They didn't holler for anybody else until the Road Warriors finally popped out and they were going to the ring, and then it was kind of like, it wasn't because the people were physically drained. A matter of fact, at that fan fest in Charlotte, a lot of people from Baltimore were there.
Yeah.
And that's when they go, oh man, you and Bart. Every match that I've ever had in my career is is a great match. People say, well, who's your greatest matches with? But I can't pick them. I mean, I've worked with Black Bart, Crusher Khrushchev. Uh, every guy is different. A superstar Billy Graham.
I was going to ask you about Billy.
Yeah, the Great American Bash. He made me. That's when I became, I became a force to be reckoned with.
What are your memories of the Bash?
Well, if you remember the beating I took, it was awesome. I mean, it really was. And when I small packaged Billy Graham, okay, I didn't, it didn't pop off what just happened. So it took me a couple minutes, and then I finally realized what was going on. And boy, that's when I went nuts. And the people knew I didn't know what was happening. They could feel it too. But it was great.
You also got to work with Buzz Sawyer. Now, a lot of people say he was hard to work with. What was your impressions of Buzz?
It wasn't hard for me to work with. His psychology was a little bit different, but it was. I was able to work with it.
You got to work with Abby?
Yes. Abby used to call me the best baby face in the business.
White meat baby face.
Yeah, boy, I was too. But he would stand on top of me, and I tell you what, 560 pounds standing on it takes a little bit out of you.
Who taught you how to do promos? Was that something that you just learned from watching the business, or did anybody, especially Dusty, who was a master of them?
Well, what happened there was I went on TV with Dusty and Magnum in Greenville, South Carolina, and I got tongue-tied. And, oh, this is horrible. So, I went to say Ole Anderson's name, and I went, on the interview. And Dusty and Magnum just looked at me, and Dusty took over the interview. And as we're walking out, he goes, fam, everybody didn't need to know that you know how to eat,
Right.
I was embarrassed. So, then I started watching guys, and I always revert back to, what I learned when I was younger. Bruiser Bob Sweetan, my dad, Jake. Okay, the best interviews are not those ones where somebody's out there ranting and raving. It's when they're talking to you. Bob Sweetan, he had a thing like this when he'd point, Boy, that used to piss people off. The two fingers, not just the one finger, the two fingers. That was, just a natural heat getter. But he would talk, dear. He wouldn't holler. He wouldn't scream. He would talk. The lower you talk on TV, the harder and harder you'll have to lean in. You won't keep that conversation with this guy on the couch. You're trying to hear what I'm saying. So if I just talk to you in a regular voice, yeah, sometimes they get colorful, and I might raise my voice a little bit, but it doesn't need to be a hollering and screaming contest.
That's a lot of Jake's psychology as well, too.
Yeah.
So.
I learned from him too, if you've, okay, I guess this is have to be the way I'd say it. If I ain't got nothing to say, I'm going to scream at the top of my lungs just so you listen to me. But if I got something to say that's worth listening to, you're going to listen to me while I'm talking.
What are your memories of the famous angle where the Horseman broke your arm?
What do you mean? What are they? That cast stunk. But I had to, get that cast remade every night because they were beating the hell out of that and hanging me from the turnbuckle, top turnbuckle, where my feet were dangling from the floor, everything. It was hard to work with. And then Jim Crockett said to me one night, he goes, "Man, you got a weapon on your arm. Why don't you use that?" And the only thing I can come back with is, I can't. I'm a good guy.
Right.
I'm not the ones that's supposed to cheat. And then after that kind of changed me a little bit. That's when one man gang or somebody would get me in a bear hug and I'd bite their nose to get out of it, or because if you're in that situation where you're getting hurt, you'll do anything you can to get out of it. And that kind of changed my style a little bit. And personality started coming out a little bit more. I've always had personality, even when I first started. I always had personality, and that's what people get with.
What was the lifestyle like back then, as far as being on the road in the Crockett territory?
Oh wow, it was wonderful. I mean,
lots of girls and all that.
Oh yeah, traveling all over the place. I was making really good money, and people knew me everywhere I went. The Charlotte Hornets basketball team, when the Hornets first came out, the first year. Anyway, they were doing an autograph signing at at a town about 20 miles outside of Charlotte. I can't remember the name of the town right now. It's a little town. Dan Aykroyd got a speeding ticket there and made a movie off of it. But anyway, there was a mall there, and we had to stop at that mall one day. Nicola needed some pantyhose. So we stopped at the mall. We went into J.C. Penney's. The Charlotte Hornets were doing an autograph session, and everybody left the Charlotte Hornets table and come over and just surrounded us,
I think she said that in our interview that we did with her, yeah.
Yeah, but it was unreal. I mean, the reaction from the people was unreal.
What were your initial memories of meeting Baby Doll?
Meeting her? Well, I remember I met her at a TV taping one night, and I introduced myself, and then she told me that that my brother had told her to look me up. So we just sit. I would sit there and talk with her a lot and everything, and in Mid-South, like when the midgets would come into the territory or the girls would come into the territory, I'd always, give them rides or, help them out or whatever, make sure they were protected, make sure they, if they needed anything or whatever. So, I kind of looked out for her. And then when Dusty won her for the 30 days,
right,
Magnum and Dusty traveled around together all the time. And since I was hooked up with them, it was my job to keep an eye on her. And, so we traveled together a lot, and then the last night that we traveled together, I was dropping her off at her car, and I asked her if I could kiss her, and that was our first kiss.
I was going to ask you how soon did it become romantic, so that was
it was
okay.
About the end.
Did you guys have to kayfabe it from the guys at all, or
yeah?
Was there any jealousy regarding when the boys found out about that relationship? Was any of the guys jealous at all, or?
If they did, they didn't show it.
Right. Did you ever hear any rumors that Dusty was always kind of jealous of how over you got?
Huh?
Did you ever hear any rumors about how Dusty might have been jealous with the crowd reaction that you were so over at all?
No. I mean, if he shouldn't be. I mean,
it's business.
It's business.
Right.
And, he made me. He should be very proud of his accomplishment.
Right.
He made me. I'm his Frankenstein.
You also teamed up with Nelson Royal. What are your memories of teaming with Nelson?
Nelson was great. He taught me a lot. We traveled up and down the road together. He taught me how to rope. I've always known how to ride horses and stuff like that. But he taught me how to rope, and when I was a little kid, I'd been in a couple of his rodeos and stuff, and but he gave me fantastic insight in the business, in the ring, and Johnny Weaver was one. Johnny Weaver, when I tagged up with him, he taught me a lot. All these guys that I worked with, like I told you before, I was with the cream of the crop. I learned so much from all of them. Nelson Royal will always have a special place in my heart.
What about Dick Murdoch? You got to work a little bit with Dick, and I remember they did the angle with the quick punch.
Yeah. Dickie's funny. Dickie was great. Dick Murdoch was Dickie Murdoch.
Outside the ring, too.
Yeah, he was. I'm really sorry that Murdoch got blamed for this rib, but it was a great rib. James Beard was a referee in Texas, and Bubba Monroe, Sputnik Monroe's son, he was coming out there to work. Well, anyway, one night, George Armstrong, who just passed away recently, from what I understand, he was the head of security there at the Sportatorium. He was having a party one night after the bar closed. Well, while we were at the bar, James Beard, there was this one blonde-headed lady that every week, there was nothing romantic or nothing like that, but every Friday night I would talk to her. We would just talk because she was in awe of how much all these people, and would come up to me, and she was like, so to her, well, okay, I just enjoyed talking to her, and I could talk to her instead of like, her being a fan or anything.
Right.
She was kind of in awe of that. But anyway, I got my head opened up that night, and she was a good-looking girl. So James comes up to me, and she goes, well, all that blood's fake, ain't it? And he goes, you think so? And he taps me in the head like that. When he does, it just opened up and started pouring. I was like, damn it, So the lady behind the bar gives me a rag and some Band-Aids, and I go into the bathroom, and I'm trying to clean myself up, and I'll get it all cleaned up. Well, when I come back, James is sitting next to her, so I'm like, oh, okay. So, okay, I'm going to have to get you now. So, Bubba Monroe had tried to do something to me, tried to pull something on me at the matches that night in the dressing room. And I don't think it really went off good. He didn't get there. I didn't put it over.
Right.
So we're all at George's house, and everybody were drinking beer. Randy Rhodes, Murdoch, James, Bubba, me, a bunch of us are there. All security guards. So finally, people start passing out. And I always carry a Sharpie marker with me. So I went over and I wrote stupid across James Beard's forehead. And then I went over to Bubba Monroe and wrote stupid across his forehead. So 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock in the morning, me and Murdoch and Rhodes, we're still up laughing and everything. Well, we're making so much noise. James starts coming around. He wakes up and he goes, looks around. He goes, what are y'all laughing at? So I point over to Bubba Monroe. So James gets up and he goes over and he leans over Bubba and reads stupid written on Bubba's head. So he starts laughing. He turns around to go get coffee. Well, when he started laughing, it must have done something, it must have sparked Bubba around. So Bubba comes up and he sits up on the floor. He goes, hey, man, what y'all laughing at? So we point to James. So James turns around and he's laughing at Bubba because Bubba's got stupid written on his head, but Bubba's laughing at James because he got stupid written. Oh, this went on for a long time. That was great.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I know.
What about, you guys also got to work with the Midnight Express. Memories of working with...
Oh, gosh. Bobby and Dennis, unreal. Bobby, and when, from what I've heard, he's really messed up and it's hard to get around now. But all the shit he was doing back then, damn, he was unbelievable. And Dennis was great too, both of them. And Cornette, oh God, Cornette was funny on airplanes.
Any good stories? Because I know he was scared to fly.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I mean, he's left finger impressions on handrails on every major airline in the United States,
Now, you were there the night when Magnum crashed. What are your memories of that night?
I think I was in Kansas City.
Okay, you already went to Central States?
Yeah.
Okay. What are your memories of working with Bill Dundee?
Bill, he was great. I mean, Dundee, he for a small guy, he was great, and he was the only one when I left Central States, because it was over a payoff. Warlord and I drew $63,000 in Omaha, Nebraska, and I got my check, and it was for $75. And we were the main event. And I said, well, when are we going back to Omaha? They said, oh, that's going to be for the Charlotte territory now. you guys aren't going back. So I said, well, I quit. Then they called me back up. Is that for Doll too? She got on the phone and she quit too. I said, but then they said, well, you got the belt, and I'm a businessman. So I told them, I said, well, I'll drop the belt on TV, but to Bill Dundee.
Right. Did you like working with Bill?
I loved working with Bill.
Why did you leave Crockett's territory? What led you leaving there?
What, for
the first time?
What, the Carolinas?
Yeah, when you left the Carolinas, what made you
to the Central States?
Yeah.
Okay, what it was Crockett bought, or he was going in with. See, Crockett was no longer a part of the NWA.
Right.
Crockett was WCW now, because what happened was the NWA. They got the champions bookings, and Crockett was only going to have Flair for 17 days out of the year. And Crockett got pissed and he said, I am the NWA. So then they changed the thing to WCW. Nelson Royal got the new belt made out of Texas, which is the big nice belt, and that was legitimately worth a lot of money. He got that made, and they did the big switch over on TBS and everything. But Crockett and them still had ties with Geigel and in the Kansas City territory, because they wanted to take that over because the Charlotte territory was making a lot of money.
Right.
So they needed a tax write-off. So they sent their crew out to Kansas City, and I was part of that crew. It was supposed to be my training ground. But what would happen would we'd get to a town 400 miles away from Kansas City, and there'd be 11 people at the matches. I'd go to the concession stand, and all the posters for the event would be sitting on the concession stand. And I'm going, why aren't these up around town?
Right.
Well, we were going to sell them. Well, you're not going to sell them if you ain't got nobody here to sell them to. Elvis Presley can be right next door singing a song, and they won't draw a dime if people don't know he's there. It's advertising. They weren't getting the advertising out. They weren't doing the ground. You've got to lay groundwork before you do a show. Like the shows that I'm doing in Louisiana. I'm not hitting just that town. I'm hitting a 60-mile radius around that town.
Right.
Because somebody's going to come to my events. They're not going to not come because they don't know. They're going to know.
I'll definitely talk about that coming up in your stuff. When did you realize the territory was dying, Central States?
Well, actually, I believe it was picking up, but I left because of Warlord and myself drew $63,000, and it wasn't just me. You had Dave Peterson, you had Todd Champion, you had the Jeffers brothers, Joel Deaton, Gene Ligon. You had guys there, Colt Steele, Mitch Snow. You had T.J. Khan. You had guys there that were getting their feet wet and going out there and producing a really good show, and then to get slapped in the face on a good house, and then for Jimmy Crockett to tell me, you're not going back to that town. We are. Okay, that let me know right there that Kansas City was supposed to lose money.
Right.
It was supposed to lose money. When Kansas City at Starrcade did over $30,000, okay, well, what's wrong with this picture? Putting, and nothing against Bulldog Bob Brown or nothing like that, but Bulldog Bob Brown, the time had come for him to get out of the ring. Make him a manager, make him something like that. He shouldn't be your top heel. And I was having to work with Bulldog Bob Brown every night, just about. And you can't do anything with the guy. He's a great guy. He was a great guy. Personally, I liked him, but he was just there to go along with the flow.
Right.
And you know, and they knew that. I mean, the other thing, Sonny Myers. And Sonny Myers, I respect the hell out of him too. But Crockett sent us a ring out there, you know, one of the Crockett rings. It was a little heavier. Yeah, it was a little bit bigger. Yeah, it was an 18-foot ring, a good ring that we could work in. We could produce, you know, we could have good matches in that ring. But instead, Sonny Myers wanted to carry that 16-foot spot show ring with plywood floor. The ropes were breaking every other match, you know, and he wanted to set that up. You know, and you can't go out there and give the people the quality show that you want to give them when you don't have good equipment. Now, we had the equipment there. That was just the laziness of the promotion out there because there was nobody that was out there overseeing, trying to make it right.
Do you think you ever sent to Central States maybe to split you and Baby Doll up or at all? Or
yeah, I was sitting there for that.
Wow.
But she opted to come with
me. So I guess in retrospect, it didn't really affect your relationship because she came with you.
No. Well, what happened was they were sending me out to the Central States, and it was told to me that I'll get to see her every other week, this, that, or the other. And she said that she wanted to be out there with me, so I went in the office and I told her. I said, well, she's coming out there. I said, I didn't get married to her to have a every other weekend relationship. So
right.
Dusty sent her out there with us and had her as a manager for Warlord and Big Bubba.
Right.
Against me. You know, which, hey, man, that fits into the scheme of life. You know?
How close were you with Jake at this point in time in the business? Were you still close with him?
Yeah, I was. You know, we were talking on the phone quite a bit. You know, because I was always watching his stuff, and you know, and I guess he was hearing about what I was doing, you know. And then he called me up one morning. He said, "Meet me at the Marriott." I went to the Marriott. He was there, and boy, he was pissed. I said, "What's wrong?" Yeah, oh man. I said, "What's wrong?" He said he failed a urine test the night before, and now he's got to go into rehab. Right. So. But yeah, we were close, you know, pretty close, and then, but you know, I was like my life. I was traveling one circle, he was in another. So when I left Central States, I went down to work for Watts, and then I started making them good money for Watts. Then Crockett bought the territory from Watts. When Crockett bought the territory from Watts, he come into the dressing room one night and said, "Don't worry, everybody gets to keep their job." Eddie Gilbert called me up the next day, and I went down to Billy Bob's, and he was sitting there in the dressing room, and I walked in. I said, "Eddie, you don't have to say it." I said, "I'm fired, ain't I?" And he said, "Yeah." And you know, and Eddie Gilbert was one hell of a human being.
I was going to ask you, what are your thoughts on Eddie?
I loved Eddie to death. I really did. I always had great matches with him. You know, he never asked me. He never did anything to make me look bad. You know, that whole 2 weeks before I left.
Right.
And then I lost that last night I wrestled him. You know, in Albuquerque, New Mexico, where all titles change hands.
What was it like working for Bill Watts? A lot of people say he was a bully and a tyrant, but he pretty much run a tight ship.
Yeah, and that's what we needed. That's what the Mid-South needed. He wasn't a bully. I mean, he was a man, or he is a man. He still is a man. But Bill, yeah, you know, if you gave him your all, he'd give it to you. You know, he'd been over backwards. I mean, he got guys out of trouble, you know, all kinds of stuff.
Now, in the locker room at that point in time, I think the Freebirds might have been there, Dr. Death, DiBiase, Duggan.
Yeah, they were all there.
What year is this around?
87.
Okay, 87. So it's before, I guess, Vince took some of those guys from Watts.
Yeah, well, actually...
DiBiase might have already went.
No, DiBiase came up there after me. Let's see, Duggan came up there after me. My dad had just started working for Vince, and I started working for Vince. And Watts had sold out to Crockett, and then he was basically disbanding, UWF or Mid South, went to UWF
right.
a few months before. He was disbanding that and taking the talent he wanted back to Atlanta. So that's when Vince came along, man, and Vince needed the $1 million man. You know, he had that idea, and Dad talked with him about DiBiase, and Dad said he's got a voice that, you know,
yeah.
and DiBiase turned heel on me in Houston, Texas, against Gang and Ron Bass. Loaded the black glove up and knocked my ass out. You know? But I love Teddy. You know.
Who were some other guys that you liked working with in UWF?
All of them. I mean, even Buddy Roberts, I loved working with him. Mike Boyette, I liked working with him. I was standing in Joplin, Missouri. We went 10 minutes and never touched each other, and the people were on their feet. You know, I was like, damn, is this what it's about? You know, Sting was great. You know, Sting and Steiner. I loved working with them guys.
That's when they first broke into the business too. So
yeah, well, Sting first broke in. Him and Hellwig were partners, and then when Hellwig went back to Texas and was the Dingo Warrior there, and Sting was in Louisiana. So Eddie hooked Sting and Steiner together. And, you know, we had some, and then Savannah Jack became my tag team partner. And we had fun.
Wow. What are your memories of a young Jim Hellwig in the business?
Oh, gosh. He was something else. I always liked Jim a lot. You know, he was on a lot of sauce. You know, and when he first come up to work for Vince and everything, that whole first year, you know, when he was just the Warrior, and then all of a sudden he did that one interview and he says, I am the Ultimate Warrior. And Vince thought about it for a second. He goes, Ultimate Warrior. I like it. Let's go with it. You know, that used to be, you know, in the dressing room, that was our thing. When Vince says, I like it, let's go with it. You know, that's when you knew you had arrived.
Right.
But yeah, I traveled for about a year with Jim. We traveled everywhere, a lot of places together. I took him to my bootmaker, got him, you know, boots and stuff. And, you know, we really talked a lot while we were on the road. He was helping me in the gym, working out, and I was helping him with psychology and stuff. But you know, he was he's a great guy. I wished I knew how to get a hold of him now. I'd like to give him a holler and just talk to him. But then, you know, Vince, you know, when he put the strap on him and everything, you know, then he started, you know, Jim started traveling in different circles then, you know. He was on top.
Right.
You know.
Sting, what are your memories of Sting outside the ring?
Oh, Sting was great. You know, Sting was always a gentleman. Always a gentleman. I don't ever remember him ever. I've never heard him say anything bad about anybody. You know, all those guys, they were family. Is how I'd have to say it. Yeah, you know, they were like little, you know, well, blah blah, you know, this one and that one, but you know, it was nothing that they couldn't get over, and it's nothing that would. I mean, there was a brotherhood. It was a family.
Now, your struggles with drugs and alcohol are pretty well known. Was it hard to control this during your runs in the business?
Actually, I didn't actually become an alcoholic, full-fledged alcoholic. See, when I was younger, yeah, I could always stop. I think in '91 when Nickel and I split up, I think that's when I just I said, oh, to hell with it, you know. And that's when I started drinking, you know, a half gallon, 3/5 a day.
Wow.
You know, and I've been struggling with addiction now for 6 years. Let's see. I've been, you know, rehabs and stuff, and you know, I've always been able to complete the program and do well, but it was always, just something I couldn't fathom. I'd see somebody with 17 years sober or 20 years sober, and you can't see that. But something just clicked with me. I just got out of the Hanley Center a couple of weeks ago, and something happened there. I was so tired of these psychologists and everybody answering my questions with a question, and all I want is the answer. They say it's easy, they say it's this, they say it. That night a guy said something in a meeting, and when he said it, I went, shit, it's just that easy. He said, have a personal relationship with your higher power. He said, go to meetings, read the book, talk to your sponsor, work the steps. Now, these are things I have heard for the last 6 years, that I've been going to meetings and everything, but it never really clicked because I've been trying to do it my way, and I'd have a year sober or a year and a half sober and think, then I get that holier than thou attitude is what I like to call it. Like, man, I got this thing licked. Oh yeah. And then you start getting overwhelmed with things. And what do you turn to when you go? Either you stop going to meetings because, I'm done. I'm not an alcoholic anymore. Well, I'm always going to be an alcoholic, but I choose not to be a drunk anymore. So, it just clicked.
Did it ever cost you a spot at all? The drinking problem at all?
Probably.
Right. How did you wind up in WWF?
What do you mean?
When you first went up to work for Vince? Was that through your father?
No, I called up the office. And they took me right up.
What were you promised? Anything early on? Did they give you
They just gave me the standard 2-year contract. The payoffs were great when I first started, and then they were great, and then they tapered off.
I was going to ask you, were you close with your brother when you went into the company? Did you travel with him at all, or?
Yeah, well, they were running 3 towns a night then. So, we'd always, when we get the books and cheats, okay, we're going to be here together, we're on this run, let's get together on this one. When we were together, we ran together.
I guess, how would you compare the locker room from WWE to the Crockett locker room? How would you compare the 2 locker rooms?
Oh gosh. It was a lot different. I guess I would have to say there was more backstabbing amongst the boys, because each guy wanted to get ahead. It wasn't like a family thing,
right?
There wasn't that strong bond that there was, with WCW at the time. And then when WCW got bigger and bigger and bigger, that bond broke too. There wasn't that bond. They didn't have that bond.
Everybody wanted each other's spots.
Yeah, and that's what happens. Jealousy is a big detriment for our business. And I guess what I'd have to say is you strive to be better. You try to get ahead and everything, and somewhere in that focus you lose that perspective of know your role. If you know what I mean, because you're trying to advance, but you can try all you want to advance, but if the office ain't behind you, you're not going to go nowhere.
Right,
not up there.
What are your memories about Hulk Hogan in the locker room?
Hulk Hogan, I have nothing. I had nothing but respect for him. He was always a gentleman to me.
Randy Savage, you shared locker rooms with Randy?
Yeah, Randy was cool.
Good guy?
Yeah, I kind of understood what he was going through. He had his wife on the road too. So,
did you ever witness anything with him and Elizabeth? Because we've done interviews with so many people, and everybody says he was very protective of Elizabeth.
Oh yeah, well, I was protective over Nicola. And, I'm sure Eddie was protective over Missy. But yeah, you're always going to be protective over the one you love.
Right. Is it true that your WWF job cost Baby Doll her gig in WCW?
Yeah.
What happened with that?
Well, when they let me go, they sort of let her go too, you know. And then when I mean, she would have liked to have worked for Vince too, but you know that just wasn't in the cards because they had Elizabeth,
right? So they didn't need another.
So they didn't need another valet. And the thing with like the girls and the midgets and things like that, the midgets and the girls are novelties, and as soon as you take the novelty away, they're not special anymore.
Right.
Basically, yeah. So you know they had Elizabeth. You know they were having the girl wrestlers with my sister, Sherry Martel, you know Judy Martin and Leilani Kai. They had them brought the jumping bomb angels in. They were trying to do something with the girls as athletes, but you know you always had the valet thing going on, like when Cheryl went to work with Jake,
right?
Things like that. Well, that just wasn't in the cards for my character or for Nekla to ever do. I guess anything too much together. So Crockett offered Nekla the job back, and to go with be with Zbyszko. So I remember one night in Raleigh, I'd gone to the matches with her. 'Cause I mean, I was on the road all the time. She was on the road all the time. And those were real strenuous times for us. So on my days off, I'd go to her towns. On her days off, she'd come up to my towns. You know, and I remember Dusty come to me one night. He goes, when you get tired of the circus, give me a call.
Wow.
You know, so when my contract was up, I got to let go. Vince told me, he said, well, you've done everything we've asked you to do. We asked you to, gain some size. He goes, I got on the stuff.
Right.
I got on the sauce. I gained some size. He said, we're going to give you 3 months off. And then we're going to bring you back and give you everything. Do the dolls, the boom, 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 boom.
Do you think he was just giving you the fucking BS?
Well, at first I didn't think he was.
Right.
But in 3 months, when it didn't happen, yeah, I kind of figured, okay, so I went back to work with WCW, and then I didn't feel that I was being used to the best of my ability.
Actually, you know what? I got some more questions, and I'll get to the WCW stuff. When you worked for Vince, you had a run with Danny Davis. You got to work with Danny.
Yeah.
What are your memories working with Danny?
Danny was great. I mean, he listened, and it was having a match with Danny Davis was like a chess game
because he was a ref and
yeah. So, you learn to work around people, or I did.
You got to work with Barry Horowitz too.
Yeah, Barry was fun. I mean, we had times in Carolinas and stuff like that together. Ribs being pulled and this, that, and the other. So.
What were your initial impressions of Vince? Did you ever have any interaction with him in the locker room, or was he pretty much a guy that was not approachable?
No, I was able to talk to him. As a matter of fact, I talked to him last July. I showed up at the matches in Baton Rouge, and when I walked up, he had this look on his face like, and I said, Sam Houston. He goes, oh, Sam! And he grabs my hand, shakes it. He goes, you haven't changed a bit. I'm going, then why didn't you remember me? You got me on the 24/7 show, all day long. Evidently you don't watch your own production. Nah,
was there ever any plans to maybe mention you and Jake's relationship in WWF as being brothers, or was that pretty much something that they didn't want to do?
I guess it's something they didn't want to do. I mean, never got brought up to me.
Right. And you also got to work with Ron Bash. You had a little run with Ron.
Yeah, Ronnie was good. Ronnie was stout. So he was a good base for me.
Right.
I guess,
Who did you travel with in WWF?
Hellwig, Jake and Duggan, Jim Neidhart.
He's a character.
Neidhart, oh yeah, we had a lot of fun together. Matter of fact, his daughter come up to me that night in Baton Rouge also. She goes, you're Sam Houston? And I said, yeah, I am. And she goes, my dad has told me so many stories about you. And I was like, I hope they were good. Oh yeah, they were entertaining. I was like, okay, Jim, what are you saying?
Any good stories you want to share?
Let's see. Yeah, one time I hit him right between the eyes. He had a battle royal. And his eyes, it sat him down on the bottom turnbuckle, and his eyes crossed.
Huh.
And I was like, whoa. And he grabs it, he straightens himself up, and he grabs that beard, and he pulls it down. He goes, Sam, if you ever hit me again. Ooh. And when he did that, I went, okay. And I walked away. I was like, wow. No, but yeah, me and Neidhart, we had a lot of fun on the road. I had a lot of fun with a lot of guys.
Let me ask you about I guess when they started using you as enhancement talent in WWF, did that get frustrating to you as far as the way they were pushing you?
Yeah, but then then I tried to go out there. I worked harder, just to get the match over.
Right.
And then, especially when they put Hulk on the third match, and then you're the match right after it.
Wow.
And you got to go out there and you got to try to get the people back. Well, I was always able to get the people back.
Huh.
I guess that's why I got stuck in that spot. And I don't think, back then the talent wasn't taken care of. I guess I'd have to say is what I feel, or what I would feel it needed to be, how I felt it needed to be, but it wasn't my company.
Did you stay in touch at all with your dad at all, as I guess during your run in WWF?
Yeah, he was working.
He was there in the office, basically. Yeah. Okay.
He was a road agent.
Yeah. Yeah. Memories of working MSG for your big Madison Square Garden debut.
Oh God. Yeah, that's scary. I think the first one I was at was like a battle royal or something like that. And it was intense. When you walk in that building, you got the goosebumps. It's like a being on paper. It's a big event.
Right.
A Great American Bash, a Starrcade. Things like that. Though some places are just set apart different. The history of that building, it's amazing. You get out there and you do whatever you can. I'm in a battle royal with Andre the Giant. Oh my God.
What was it like working with Andre?
Andre was great. Andre, one night we were in Madison Square Garden, and I went over there and I got his leg and everything. I ended up out of the ring somewhere around first row, second row. So I'm back in the dressing room, and Terry Garvin comes up to me and he goes, Dancing Sam, he goes, the Giant wants to see you. And I'm like, oh shit. And he goes, Dancing Sam, go to his dressing room. Don't make that big man come looking for you. It's like, okay. So I go to his dressing room, I knock on the door. Yes? So I open the door and look in. He goes, come in. Sit. So I sit down, man. And I'm trying to look small. I'm really, really cowering down in that chair. And he goes, I've known you since you were a little boy. And I met Andre the first time I was 8 years old. I used to travel with Andre and my dad all the time. So he goes, I like you. I don't like your brother, though. He's an asshole. From now on, you travel with me. Wow. What had happened in that battle royal is somebody had me in a headlock, and somebody come and slapped the piss out of me in the back. Okay, in Madison Square Garden, you got the ice on the floor for the hockey, and they put that particle board over the top of it. So it's cold in that building.
Right.
Man, that stung. And I looked down. I saw snakeskin boots walking by, and I was like, okay. So I waited a few minutes, and Jake got tangled up with somebody in the corner. So I went over there, and I smacked him. And he's like, eee. So he says, hey, he goes, let's start working together. And I said, okay. I said, what do you want to do? He said, let's go get Andre. And I was like, okay. So we're standing side by side. Jake takes one step and stops. I didn't stop. I kept walking.
No.
I grab Andre's leg and I'm, jerking it all around, you know. And I look back, and Jake's standing in the middle of the ring going, you know. So yeah, he got the ha-ha that night.
You got to work with Terry Taylor a little bit too?
Yeah, he was good.
Good guy.
I like Terry.
When you teamed up with Ultimate Warrior, outside the ring, a lot of people say, you know, he was really crazy from all the stuff he was on. How was Jim, I guess, outside the ring? Was he as crazy as a lot of the guys say?
No, not when he was with me. Well, back then I was smoking weed.
Right.
Okay. And basically, whenever he would start, you know, getting
antsy,
aggressive, anything like that, shit, time to smoke a joint.
Right.
Here, smoke this. You know, I mean, in El Paso, this guy had a video camera and was videotaping us as we're getting off the plane and, you know, getting in everybody's face. Well, he, you know, stayed on Jim and you know, Jim he was pissed. I went and got the rent-a-car, and something happened inside the airport, I guess. I went and got the rent-a-car, pulled it around because I was going to take him to my bootmaker. And Jim comes out with his bags, and he's standing there, and 2 cops came out after him. Well, I pulled the car up, and I see this going on. Well, Jim goes to throw his bags in the trunk, and one of them didn't make it. He grabs the trunk of that car, and he starts, you know, shaking the car up and down, bouncing it up and down a little bit, and yelling, you know, the F word,
right,
loud. And those 2 cops just looked at me with bug eyes, and they said, "Buddy, we sure do hope you can. We ain't doing nothing." And they turned around and walked back inside the airport. We got Jim in the car. We smoked a joint and cooled him down. Got to the bootmaker. He's all right.
Are you still recognized from your 24/7 appearances on TV?
Yeah, some.
All right.
Some of the people go, "What happened to you?"
Now, you left WWF after they told you they were giving time off, and you went to WCW. What happened in WCW? You weren't there very long.
No, I didn't stay there very long. Dusty wasn't there yet, wasn't back there yet. I think he was still up there for Vince with the polka dots and everything. And Barry Windham was helping with the book till Dusty got back in there. And one night they wanted me to put Terry Taylor over in 2 minutes. I don't have a problem, you know, putting him over, but it's just the 2-minute thing. That's the part that got me.
Right.
You know, with a forearm. Here I am. I have taken every damn thing in the world, and you're going to beat me with a forearm in 2 minutes.
Did Terry understand your point of view?
I don't know if he did or not. I hope he does. You know, it's nothing personally against the guy or nothing like that. It's just that here I am. I'm sitting here. Vince, now after I started working back there, now I'm getting phone calls from him again. And then I'm sitting here with WCW. So I'm at an impasse. I don't know which way to go. I've been promised all this glitz and glamour and, you know, and this over here. But if I do this over here,
right,
you know, so I said, I told Barry, I said, I can't do that. I'm cutting my throat. And, I thought about it for a little while, and I figured, okay, well, I can do something. So I tried to figure something out, and I went back up to Barry, and I said, look, how about, and he goes, no, never mind, we got to take care of, and he just turned around and walked away. And he told me going home. So
that was pretty much it.
That was pretty much it.
You ended up working for USWA down in Texas, I believe, the Von Erichs.
Yeah, no.
Was it Memphis?
It was GWF when I went down there.
Okay.
Joe Pedicino's.
Okay, yeah, that's right. What are your memories of the guys that were down there? Because I think the Von Erichs. Did you go to USWA at all to work with the Von Erichs a little bit? And Lawler was down there?
No.
And Jarrett?
No.
Okay. When you went down to work for Global for Pedicino, what are your memories of? Well,
Eddie Gilbert was booking it, and
right.
Me and Eddie had some awesome matches. Then, I worked there for a while. Then I got stiffed on. You
worked with Bull Payne, I think, a little bit.
Yeah, I sure did. Bull Payne was a good guy too. that's when I started kind of going outside the norm, I guess, with Bull Payne on things. But there was a problem of a couple about $2,000-$2,500, and where I'd come in to make shots. I was coming either from L.A. or from Charlotte, coming down there, because they told me when I was booked, and then I'd get there. I got there a couple of times, and well, you're not booked. And I go, what? So I went out to West Texas and to visit Nicola and my girls, and I had to work in Dallas. I was going back to Charlotte, and she took the belt. No, I forget. Anyway, the belt didn't make it to the show.
You pawned the belt or something? I heard it.
After that, when I went in there, Manny Fernandez says, "Where's my belt?" And I said, "I don't have it right now." And he said, "Well, I need it." And I said, "Well, I need my money." And he said, "Well, you got to work that out with them." So when I got back to Charlotte, I tried to call and work it out with them, and they didn't want to work it out. So I sold the belt to a pawn shop, so the guy could hang it on his wall.
Wow.
And I told him, I said, "I don't have the belt no more."
Do you think the guys behind it knew what they were doing, or were they just money marks?
Money marks.
Were you there when Jerry Lynn and I don't know if you remember Sean Waltman when he just broke out? Were you there? When
Lightning Kid?
Yeah, Lightning Kid. Were you there for their matches?
I wasn't there I don't think I was there for their matches. I worked with Sean one time, when he was, first coming up. I was like, damn, man, this kid can move.
You knew he had something. You saw.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
What are your memories of Eddie Gilbert down in GWF? Same old Eddie as before?
Mm-hmm. Eddie could always work.
Right. Whose idea was the mask for you?
Oh, shoot. The Midnight Rider thing?
Yeah.
Was
that something you just seen from Florida and all that?
No, I forget who come up with it. But I hated wearing it.
Hard to work.
Oh, yeah. I mean, when, I'm used to working in, my trunks and my boots and my knee pads.
Right.
You add anything to that, like the full body suits when I was Dos Hombres with Kendall Windham, or Dirty Yellow Dog down somewhere, or Midnight Rider, or,
right.
James Brothers' or James Boy's other brothers,
Did you ever get to work around the Von Erichs? Did you ever see?
Yeah, I was Kevin's partner after Kerry committed suicide.
What are your memories of that territory?
Crockett didn't. He didn't have control over. He didn't have it just wasn't there.
Right.
I think the business just kind of eluded him. Nowadays I'd like to go up to him, and for a long time but now I'd just like to shake his hand. And
Who's that, Kevin?
No, Jim Crockett.
Oh, okay.
That I don't have any hard feelings anymore.
Right.
I saw Jackie in Charlotte in August. I always liked Jackie. I always liked Jackie. David, got along with David, but David was cut and dry business,
Right.
but not our business. He was more, production, this, that, and the other.
Did you ever work for Jerry Jarrett at all?
No.
Okay.
I'd like to, TNA. No.
Well, he's no longer with TNA anyway, but Dixie Carter, but his son's still there, Jeff.
Okay, Jeff, hey,
Terry
call me.
Terry Taylor's there too.
Hey, Terry, call me.
What about Deep South? You worked a little bit for Deep South. Memories of working for that company?
Which one is it, that one?
To be honest, I don't remember offhand.
Deep South.
I forgot who was in that territory. I really do. But we'll move on to the next question. It's not that important. In 1994, I guess you and Baby Doll split up. What happened? And are you guys still friendly? If you don't want to talk about it.
No, I mean, yeah, we speak now. I guess it's just, some things don't work out.
Mm-hmm.
I got two great, beautiful kids.
She always puts them over, you know.
Well, she should. I mean, they're awesome.
I met them down in Charlotte last year.
Yeah.
Too, so
They're awesome.
now you live in New Orleans, so
Well, actually, I'm outside of Hammond now.
did you get hit at all by Katrina?
I lost everything I owned.
Really? Wow. So what was that like living through that experience?
It sucked.
Did you stay put and fight it out? Did you stay there when the storm hit, or did you?
No, I was in Amite when the storm hit. About 20, 40, about 40, about 60 miles away from New Orleans when it hit. And then Dad stayed down there. And when the flood happened, I mean, he skinned his knee, he ended up with staph infection because he waited in water for 3 days. Then he was finally able to get out of there.
Wow.
So,
what happened with you and you were sentenced to jail for like 10 years? What all happened with that? Because I remember Baby Doll went on the internet and posted stuff about that.
well, everybody's going to talk about it. No, what it was I got a DWI. My truck was broke down on the side of the road.
Right.
When it broke down, my girlfriend was going to come get me, but it was going to be like 2 o'clock that afternoon. So I had a bottle in the truck. I was, started having some drinks. I went off in the woods to go pee. I come back, a state trooper was there. My keys were in the ignition. I got arrested for DWI. They charged me with the third offense, and then they found a DWI like years before in Texas. So then they hit me with a DWI fourth offense. The judge said that he'd been called this, that, or the other, whatever. And if I wasn't prosecuted with the fullest extent of the law, that it was going to the newspapers, this, that, and the other. So the deal I got was 10 years suspended sentence, but I had to do 60 days. I did that. 28-day rehab program. I did that. Then 5 years of probation and a $5,000 fine. So I'm doing all that.
How hard was that, jail and all that?
Well, I mean, it wasn't no picnic.
Right.
But I really didn't have any problems. I'm kind of a big, well-known guy.
Exactly.
You know.
I remember she did an interview and she claimed that your dad got you out of like numerous DUIs. Is that pretty much true? Just from his stature?
Not that I know of.
What about the time you were in the hospital and you heard about your death on Mid-South Wrestling? Is there a story to that?
Yeah, I had my tonsils taken out, and the anesthesiologist messed up. They gave me the gas after they put the tube down my throat, but they poked a hole in the back of my windpipe. And my dad busted the recovery room door down, threw one orderly through a wall. Got to me. I told them to get me out of there. They're trying to hurt me. They were giving me morphine shots every few minutes in my legs to keep me messed up. Dad started pushing on my face. I told him to get me out of there. They're trying to hurt me. He told him to get a doctor. 2 heart doctors came in there finally and said that I'd be dead in a half hour. They took me in the operating room. I overheard the one nurse tell the other nurse, she said, well, we've already done him. And she said, the anesthesiologist nicked his pharynx. That's when they cut me. I redlined on the table. I was dead for 2 minutes. They got me back going. I was in a coma for 2 weeks in intensive care. They never once asked my family to leave the room. They stayed right there with me. In intensive care, usually in intensive care, you get to go visit for 20 minutes, and you got to leave the room.
All right.
And then wait for 4 hours or 3 hours, is whatever. See them again. They stayed in the room 2 weeks with me. I was having out-of-body experiences. I could see and hear everything going on around me. A lot of times I'd be sitting on my headboard looking down at my own body. I just couldn't move. I couldn't communicate. I couldn't do anything, let them know anything. I woke up the doctors come in and he goes, we don't expect him to make it through the night. That's when my family started crying. That really made me want to fight. That night I woke up, I looked at my mom, and I said, Mom, they nicked my pharynx. She said, you mean larynx? I said, no, they said pharynx in the operating room. She went and looked it up. The pharynx is the back of your windpipe. You know, I wouldn't have known that word unless I'd heard it.
Right.
So anyway, I told her I was tired. I was going to sleep. I woke up the next morning. I was in a private room, and I'm talking to my folks and everything. They're all sitting on, they're all smiles and everything. And I got this big bandage on my neck. I don't know what's going on. So anyway, I look at see what time it is, and damn, Mid-South Wrestling's coming on. Hit that remote. Boy, Bill Watts is sitting there with Boyd Pierce, and he says, he's like, ladies and gentlemen, Grizzly Smith is not here tonight. He said his son is in the hospital, not expected to live. And I'm looking at TV, and I start freaking out. I look at Dad, and he goes, son, that was taped Tuesday night. It's Saturday. That was, I was like, man, you're talking about me dying, So, but anyway, yeah.
What do you do today for a living?
I'm getting back in the ring.
You want to talk about that?
Sure. Did a show in. I've done shows before, in Texas and everything, fundraisers, and special events and stuff like that. The only one I lost money on was my first show. I did my first show here just recently in Hammond, Louisiana. I found this building that's perfect, perfect for wrestling. I did the first show March 13th. The show was good. It was, along the caliber of Mid-South Wrestling. You've got, what it is, down in Louisiana right now, you've got these independent promoters. And they're all cutting each other's throat.
Same thing up here.
Yeah. And what it is, this big fat fireman or whatever, he wants to be the star of the show. This guy wants to do this. This bail bondsman wants to do that. They all want to be better than or put themselves on the same level of the athletes they're trying to bring in. There's too much talking. There's not enough action. There's a whole lot of things wrong with these smaller promotions, and it's like carnival sideshow stuff. It's not wrestling action. They're trying to be like Vince, and what do they have to try to even be like? They can't. They're not Vince McMahon. Don't even try. Give the people what they want. They want good action. A person goes to the wrestling matches because they want to see somebody in the ring do something that they cannot do themselves. It's just that simple. If you could sit there and do a double back flip off of a 5 foot tall platform, right, and land with a big splash on somebody, then why would you pay money to see that?
Exactly.
Okay, you can't do it, so you will spend $75 to go see somebody else do it. Wow, I can't do that, But you go to see people do things that you can't do. Why do you go see the sword swallower at a fair? Because you want to see something you can't do.
Right.
But you got all these people in sideshow attractions. It's a geek show. And that's not wrestling. That's not Mid-South. That's not what people are starving for. People are starving for entertainment. Not me out there on the microphone talking for 10 minutes and then like wrestling for 3.
Do you still watch the business today?
Yeah, here and there, yeah. I'll always see. Not only I'm not just a wrestler, I'm a fan. I'll always love it. But these little piece of crap shows they have,
going on, and like for instance, in North Carolina, I was driving through a little town one time, and I saw a poster that said pro wrestling. In the main event, they had Blake the Snake Roberts.
Right. You can't.
It's stupid. You take somebody else's name, somebody that is somebody, and then you change it a little bit, and that's your 15 minutes of fame. That's your claim to fame. Look, if you can't get out there and you can't be yourself and do something,
Shouldn't be in the business.
you shouldn't be. Yeah. You should leave it alone and go back and sit down and watch it on TV or pay your $15. Just because you have a few dollars that you can put, and this, I know this big fat guy that, oh yeah, we'll play this music, yeah,
That's a lot of things around here that shows a lot of the indie promoters are pretty much marks that got money to spend and they think they're in the business and they don't know anything about the business.
Yeah, and that irks the hell out of me, And some people were trying to help me do some stuff, but they're telling me, oh, yeah, you need to have a taser match. A taser match. Why? Ain't chairs and 2x4s enough?
Right.
Oh, yeah, have 4 boxes and a taser in one of the boxes, and you're fighting and you're trying to find the taser, and then you finally find it. And I'm thinking to myself, yeah, and I want you sitting right on front row because I'm going to have that guy duck and I'm going to hit you with it. Hey, that's a good idea. Yeah, good idea. Oh, we're going to have a taser manager match. It's going to be you. Come on. Okay, our business is out there, and it does push the envelope some, but come on. I mean, reality's got to set in somewhere.
Definitely. One of the questions I wanted to ask you before, going back to the NWA days when you traveled with Dusty, there you are, pretty much a young guy in the business, and you're here with the booker of the company. How much did you ever overhear Dusty saying, like, future plans with guys he was going to push and all that? I mean, you must have heard so much stuff. And would you just take this in and keep it to yourself, or did you ever, like, hear,
What happens between, people talking and stuff like that is their business.
Right.
When office business is talked and discussed and stuff like that, you respected that.
Right. Did you ever hear Dusty bury guys like, and
No.
No.
Cool. Dusty wasn't that way. He would try to find out the best ways to utilize people. Right. He would take guys that, he would use guys he didn't like to the best of their ability.
A lot of people that we've done interviews, I don't want to cut you off, said that Dusty would put himself involved with other guys that were over to get himself over for the rub. Did you ever see that?
He didn't have to.
He was already over.
It was everybody else that was working with him that he brought them up to his level.
Right.
Dusty was a national superstar. I was in Philadelphia one night. Okay, when Dusty was wearing the polka dots with Sapphire, the whole 9 yards. I'm up there. They put Dusty on right after Hulk's match.
And he got himself right over.
And when he walked to the ring, the people were on their feet yelling, "Dusty, Dusty, Dusty."
Right.
He pulled it off. Even though they got him going out there like a circus clown in yellow polka dots and,
Right.
He took what was dealt him and made the best of it. And people bought into him.
What do you remember of Rock and Roll Express in the locker room?
I love Ricky and Robert. I love them with all my heart. We were 6-man tag team partners a lot. We did a lot of stuff. And for a while there, when in the Carolinas, when Ricky wasn't around, I was working with Robert a lot. We were tag team partners quite a bit. But yeah, they were always fun to be around. you could be having the worst day of your life and be sitting there crying in a corner, and they'd give you something to laugh about. They'd pull you out of it. I mean, and if there were ever two, okay, but Charlie Norris, my tag team partner up out of Minnesota, I want us to have that same relationship that Ricky and Robert. I mean, that closeness. I mean, you actually see whatever happens to Ricky in the ring, you know Robert's feeling it. Whatever's happening to Robert in the ring, you know Ricky's feeling it. That's the same way with Charlie and I. You know that genuine concern is there.
What was your favorite town?
My favorite town?
Yeah, to work.
Oh, gosh. Houston, Texas was awesome for me when Paul Bosch had it.
Wow.
Paul Bosch was an incredible promoter. One night he come up to me, he goes, "What did you get paid for Houston last week?" And I told him. And he goes, "That's not what I wrote in." And he went up to the office and come back and gave me $500.
Wow.
He said, "There."
That's an honest guy.
He said, yeah, he said, "You tell me." He goes, "I want to know what you make in Houston." He goes, "And if it ain't right," he goes, "I'll take care of it."
Huh.
And I was like, damn. Because I guess I was over in Houston. Really over. Maybe it's the name.
Did you ever watch Southwest Championship Wrestling back in the day with Bob Sweeten and Tully and his dad?
No. No, I didn't.
Okay.
Now, Tully did come into the Mid-South, for special things here and there.
Right.
Him and Gino Hernandez had come in and stuff.
What are your memories of Gino?
Actually, I don't really, we went to the movies one night after he got his head shaved. Nicholas spent, time with him.
Right.
I didn't,
Wow. I guess in closing, is there anything you want to say out to your fans out there that you never had a chance to say? Because this interview was awesome.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I'd like to say this. I get out in the ring, and nothing that I do in the ring is fake. I believe in everything I do out there. I believe in myself. So nothing is fake. I get out there and I give it my all every time. And you're the reason I do that. I want to thank you. I would like to say thanks for the memories. I do truly appreciate it. And God bless. And take care of yourself.
Thanks for being here today with us. And
I appreciate it.
Wish you the best of luck. You have a website you want to plug or anything for your company?
I do, but I don't know what the thing is. Right now the name of the organization is PWANLA. It's on MySpace.something.com/
Gotcha. They'll figure it out. They'll Google it.
Yeah. But yeah, check me out. I'm all right.
Thanks again.
Uh-huh.